Help me reach 3,000 subscribers. Hit like and leave a comment. I really do read them all. She held up the phone at the kitchen counter like she was showing me test results. I want this, she said. A tiny gold necklace with a price that looked like a car payment. It's delicate, minimalist, timeless, beautiful, I told her. And not happening. She didn't blink. Why? Because the mortgage is due Monday, the car needs brakes, and I'm not financing a trinket that costs more than our fridge. Other men buy their wives nice things. Other men might also have the cash. I don't. She tilted the screen. You can put it on a payment plan. I'm not putting jewelry on layaway so it can own me for 6 months. Her mouth curled the way it does when she wants to make me feel small without saying anything. So you're saying no. I'm saying we have priorities. She turned away like the conversation had bored her. Fine. Noted. If I'd known where that fine was headed, I would have sat down, finished my coffee, and filled a notebook with dates. Instead, I grabbed my lunch and went to work thinking we were just dealing with a bad mood. I run maintenance at a distribution warehouse on the south side of town. It's not glamorous, but I keep a dozen forklifts and a conveyor spine alive, and paychecks show up because I show up. That morning, I climbed down off a lift and texted her a photo of a mangled belt I'd pulled in a line. Paid for with not buying necklaces. She left it on read. I put the phone back in my pocket and got on with it. When I came home that night, she'd moved through the house like a ghost. No hello. No, how was your day? Plate on the table, face down on the couch with a show humming. I set my boots by the door, washed my hands, and ate in quiet. You mad? I asked finally. Or auditioning for a statue? She didn't look at me. I'm over it. Over what? The way you make me feel like a child when I ask for basic things. A necklace that costs a week's pay is a basic thing? I stay home. I keep this place going. I deserve something that makes me feel like more than a houseplant. You want more? Start with respect for the budget. Then we can talk sparkle. She changed the channel. Cold. No discussion. Just the lesson. I was supposed to be embarrassed for not bending. Here's how this is going to go, I said, and her eyes finally flicked over. Groceries, utilities, mortgage, those are funded first. Starting tomorrow, I'm channeling our spending through one card for household only. I'll take responsibility for paying the rest. No more guessing. So you're restricting me. I'm putting rails on the staircase so we don't break our necks. She laughed once through her nose and turned back to the screen. Do what you want. Already doing it. That was the end of the first round. I cleaned the dishes, put a load of laundry in, and laid out my work clothes. The house felt colder than the fridge. In the morning, I stopped by the bank on the way to work, set up a separate checking account for bills, and moved the bulk of our money there. It wasn't secrecy. It was order. I left enough in the joint for weekly groceries and gas, and texted her the numbers. She answered an hour later. Okay, I'll manage. There was a smiley face attached to it that didn't feel friendly. At lunch, my supervisor Jay took one look at my face and gave me a half grin. Marriage math. Luxury algebra, I said. We're subtracting shiny things from the equation. Get the variables under control, he said, tapping the table with his fork. Or they solve you. That night, she didn't bring up the necklace. She brought up my overtime. They still need weekends? She asked like she was asking about the weather. Some. Why? Because if you worked Saturdays for a month, we could get ahead. Then the conversation changes. That's not how it works. Getting ahead is not a ticket to throw it all at a charm. So it's always no with you. It's always adults with bills. She looked right through me. You make everything so small. Small is keeping the lights on. Big is pretending we're 10 years richer than we are. She folded her arms and faced the window. Silence again. I took the trash out and let the cold night air do the talking for a while. 2 days later, she came by my job with a paper bag. Lunch, she said, stepping into the shop where we keep the parts. Nora, the bookkeeper, gave me a quick look, surprised to see my wife there. I wiped my hands and followed her outside. Turkey and Swiss, she said, handing me the bag like a peace offering. I was sharp the other night. I get it. Bills first. I nodded. Appreciate that. She tucked a hair behind her ear. I also saw a smaller necklace. Way cheaper. How cheap? She named a number. Less than before, still dumb. Not this month, I said. Thanks for lunch. Her smile thinned. You know, Kelsey said something funny. That usually means expensive. She said her husband never makes her feel like a beggar. That's a low bar. She said when she wants something, he figures it out. I'm not Kelsey's husband, and I'm not a vending machine. She took a breath and exhaled like she was releasing a story she'd practiced. I just want to feel special. You want to feel special? Earn it with me. We raised the roof together. Then we hang something pretty from it. She stared at the bag in my hand. You can keep the sandwich, she said, and walked off. Nora poked her head out from the office door. Everything good? She asked, not unkindly. It will be, I told her. And because I believe in show me, don't tell me, I grabbed the joint card from my wallet, walked back inside, and called the bank. Remove the overdraft tie from the joint, I said. Household only. If it declines, it declines. Jay heard the end of it and raised an eyebrow. Rails on the staircase, he said. Rails on the staircase, I answered. That night, the kitchen smelled like cinnamon. She'd baked. She plated warm rolls, set out butter, and hovered near me like a different person. I overreacted, she said soft. You work hard. I appreciate it. Thank you, I replied, keeping my voice even. I looked at our groceries, she continued. I can adjust menus. Save us a little. That would help. I also found a dress for Kira's wedding. Simple, not designer. How much? She told me. Decent number. Okay, I said. Buy it with the household card. We'll make it fit. Her eyes flicked for a half second toward the counter. The card's not working for online. It works in person. To keep spend from growing legs. Right. She smiled again and wiped her hands on a towel in neat, deliberate swipes. I'll swing by the store tomorrow. It looked like movement. It felt like a truce. I let the warmth in, but I didn't build a fire around it. After dinner, I paid bills, set my alarm, and at midnight pulled out a yellow pad. If she stayed on this new path, good. If she didn't, I wrote down the steps I'd take. 1 month of clear behavior. Clocks run both ways. By the weekend, she'd turn the temperature back down. I woke up Saturday to her on the phone with Kelsey, whispering the way people whisper when they want you to hear. I mean, he could pick up an extra side job if he cared. It's not like he's 60. I stepped into the doorway with my coffee. She didn't look up. All right, see you, she finished and put the phone face down. You could say that to my face, I said, keeping the mug steady. She flicked a glance. It was just talk. It was a plan to put more weight on me so you can buy more. She scoffed. Your ego is loud. My math is louder. Enough, she said, standing. I'm getting the dress today. Don't make it a fight. Use the household card. If it clears, fine. If it doesn't, then it wasn't in the budget. She slid past me with a shoulder that said I was in her way by existing. When she came back, she tossed a bag onto the chair like a trophy. Got it. Good. She was quiet through dinner. Too quiet. At 9, when I went to the office for my laptop, the desk drawer sat open. The emergency debit card, the one we kept for actual, genuine emergencies, was gone. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds. Then I closed the drawer, took the keys off the hook, and walked to the truck. I drove to the ATM and checked the small emergency fund. A fresh charge was pending from a boutique name I recognized from her photo earlier in the week. The charge amount wasn't the dress. It was from the jewelry part of town. On the way home, my thinking cleared like fog burned off by noon's sun. I stopped arguing with myself about intentions. I stopped writing speeches in my head. I started planning logistics. At the kitchen table, I wrote a note. Emergency card is for emergencies. Jewelry is not an emergency. I set the card on the table with the note and went to the back room. I pulled 2 totes from the closet and filled them with what I would need if an exit became necessary. Work clothes, personal documents, the box with my grandfather's watch. I loaded them into the truck under a tarp. No theater, just steps. In the morning, I made pancakes. She floated in wearing the dress from yesterday, showing it off with a spin. Isn't it perfect? It was on sale. I set a plate in front of her and nodded at the note. You were in the emergency fund. She glanced at the card, shrugged, and cut into a pancake. They were running a limited time price. That's not an emergency. It was a window. I acted. On money we agreed not to touch. She chewed, swallowed, and sipped coffee. I'll replace it when you pick up more hours. I'm not your sponsor. You're my husband. Provide. I am. That requires you not drilling holes in the boat. She put the fork down. You love your metaphors. I love our roof not leaking. She stared at me for a long beat. Fine, she said finally. Take it out of my grocery budget. We'll eat rice for a week. Happy? No, because you didn't ask. You made a move that says your want outranks our plan. The plan is you telling me no. The plan is us acting like adults. She stood, took her plate to the sink, and turned on the faucet hard. Water thundered. I'm not living like a nun. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to respect the same rules I do. She shut the water off and kept her back to me. You don't make me feel safe. That line's not going to work, I said. Safety starts with honesty and our bills paid, not a charm locked on your neck. By Monday, I'd split our calendar too. I told her I wouldn't be at her cousin's pre-wedding brunch. That's your side, I said. I'll send my regards and a reasonable gift. That's petty. That's boundaries. At work, I called our insurance and made sure beneficiaries and contacts reflected reality, not wishful promises. I told Jay I'd be locking my tools in the back cage at night and took a small locker in the break room for clothes. You moving in? He joked. Just putting my life in one spot in case I need to move fast. Storm coming. Ignore it and you get wet. Monday night, she slid into the chair across from me with a bowl of salad and a new voice. Soft again. I talked to Kira, she said. She said I've been intense lately. I'm sorry. Thank you, I said. No sarcasm. I want to make it right. She set a small envelope on the table. Inside was a printed budget she'd worked up, groceries, gas, a small line for me. I'll stick to this, she said. No extras. It's tight, but doable. I'll also sell a couple things I don't use. The mixer, the extra chair in the den, whatever. That helps. She reached across and put her hand on mine. I don't want us to be at war. Pick me up Thursday from the salon. We can grab takeout. Sure. Thursday, I picked her up. She'd done her hair. She looked at me like we were dating again, and for a mile or two, I let the quiet do its job. At home, we ate in the living room, a show buzzing. She leaned into me, warm, almost tender. You've been good to me, she murmured. I try. I know I push. I want to feel like we're not stuck. We're not stuck. We're building. She nodded into my shoulder. You'll take me to Mark's birthday next Saturday? Yep. We'll go drop off the gift, say hello. She lifted her head. You'll bring your wallet. We'll bring a card. He's my friend, not a cover charge. She smiled like it was a private joke. You and your lines. Friday afternoon, Nora stopped me in the hall. Heads up, she said. Your wife called the office line asking about your overtime forms. I frowned. She did what? Said she needed them for a budget. I told her those stay internal. You okay? Yeah, I told her. Thanks. After work, I drove to the storage unit and signed a month-to-month lease. On the way home, I moved the totes from the truck there, plus a duffel of work gear. I wasn't packing to leave. I was making sure leaving wouldn't look like a prison break. Saturday morning, she was sugar. She called me babe 4 times in 1 hour, and if you knew her, you'd know that was a theme, not a habit. She brought me coffee in the garage while I fixed a dangling shelf. I told Kelsey you're driving tonight, she said. So you won't drink. Correct. She also said we should all go out after the party. Incorrect. It's one night. It's one budget. We're going to Mark's, then we're coming home. Her smile got tight. We'll see. We will, I said, and the answer will be no. At the party, the kitchen was dense with people and noise. Mark had turned 42 and filled the house with the usual. Guys from the shop, neighbors, his brother with the too loud laugh. I handed Mark a card with a handwritten note and a gift card with a sensible number. He hugged me, clapped my shoulder, and lifted the card. See? Thoughtful, he said. My wife was already in the dining room with Kelsey and 2 other women, telling a story with her hands. I caught a few words, tight, boring, never. Kelsey met my eyes and gave me a look that said she was enjoying herself. I poured a soda and leaned against the counter. Jay drifted up with a paper plate and a grin. You okay? Waiting to see what tonight costs, I said. Want me to interrupt if needed? He asked. I'll handle it, I told him. For a while it stayed cordial. Small talk. Cake. Mark's brother told the same story about high school for the 20th time, and we all gave him the courtesy laugh. Then Kelsey called across the room. Too loud. So, are we doing the bar after? We're driving home, I answered. My wife laughed like I'd made a joke. He's kidding. Not kidding. She rolled her eyes and stage whispered to Kelsey. He's in his grandpa era. Kelsey smiled at the group. My husband always rallies. Always. Good for him, I said. We have an early morning. Doing what? My wife asked, eyebrows up. Work, I said. That's convenient, she snapped. What is? You always have work when it involves me. I always have work because that's how rent gets paid. She lifted her cup in a little toast. To practical men with practical hearts. Someone chuckled. It didn't bother me. I'd already decided what tonight would be. What I didn't know was how loudly she wanted to make her point. Mark started opening presents. People gathered. It was fine. Then she slid close to the center of the living room with her glass, turned toward Kelsey, and announced loud enough to draw eyes. He's useless with romance, but he's kind. So that's something. Kelsey laughed. Two other women tittered. Someone said, "Ah." I looked at her. No heat. No confusion. Just the file in my head clicking into place. Emergency card, whispers, demands, sweet, sour, stage. I set my soda on the side table, stepped a foot forward so I wasn't delivering from the sidelines, and answered level. "And you," I said, "are divorced." The room drew a breath. Her smile froze a fraction too late. She stared like I'd mispronounced a word. "What?" "You heard me." I didn't raise my voice. "This ends tonight. I won't be the man you drag as you reach. Find someone whose wallet matches your appetite. I'm not your guy." She blinked. Kelsey's mouth actually opened. Jay set his plate down quietly on the counter behind me, ready if I needed a runway. Mark's hand hung in the air over a gift bag, stuck midair like the picture had paused. "You don't get to," my wife started. "I do," I said. "I did." "Keys." I held out my hand. She stared a beat too long. I didn't fight for them. I turned to Mark. "Thanks for the invite. Happy birthday." He nodded once, still reading the scene. I walked to the entryway, picked up the small tote I'd brought as if it was just a bag for a change of shoes, and paused. She followed, but not fast, like she expected the crowd to stop me. "You're leaving me at a party?" she said, trying for scorn, landing on unsure. "I'm finishing it where you started it, publicly," I replied. "Your ride home can be your friend who thinks I'm a piggy bank." "Don't do this," she said, softer. "We can talk." "We did," I said. "You laughed." I opened the door, looked back once. "Take care of yourself." On the porch, the air had that bite that warns you the season is changing. I walked to my truck, started it, and drove off without looking in the rearview. I didn't spin out. I didn't slam anything. I just left. I didn't go to a hotel. I went to the storage unit I'd rented and parked. I moved the totes to the truck bed, then drove to the month-to-month apartment a mile from the warehouse that I'd toured on my lunch hour 2 days before. I'd signed the paper that afternoon. Keys were in my pocket. Inside, it smelled like fresh paint and the echo of empty rooms. I set the totes in the bedroom and plugged in a single lamp I'd picked up at the thrift store. I texted Mark, "Sorry for the scene. Wouldn't have made it if she hadn't forced it." He answered in one line, "Proud of you." Doors open. I slept like I hadn't been sleeping for months. In the morning, my phone lit up. 23 messages. 12 missed calls. The first few were pure heat. "How dare you? You embarrassed me." The middle ones were confusion. The last ones turned to policy. "We need to discuss bills, the house, the car. Call me." I forwarded the mortgage payment confirmation to her and wrote, "Housing paid through the month. Utilities too. I'll send you a weekly number for groceries until the lease runs. After that, we'll discuss the logistics like adults. No name calling. No public scenes. If you want to talk, text me a time and a place that is neutral, clear, and short. I'll bring a list. No surprises." She answered with 4 dots, and then, "You're serious?" "Yes." "You're really ending our marriage because I wanted to feel special?" "I'm ending it because you made sure I felt small, and you liked it." There was a long pause. Then, "I can change. I believe you can choose different tactics. I don't believe you want a different goal." No response. An hour later, a single line. "I'll come by at 3 to get my things that are at your new place." "No." "Excuse me? This isn't a revolving door. Make me a list. I'll bring the items to the porch at the house at 4. If you're there, we exchange and leave it. If not, I set it down. You can't control me. I'm controlling my space." At 4, I pulled up to the house. Kelsey's car was out front. Of course. I put a box on the porch with what she'd listed: a sweater, 2 books, a pair of flats. She opened the door half a foot. "You're making a mistake," she said. "I already made a mistake," I answered. "It was giving you a stage. You're being cruel." "I'm being clear." Kelsey peeked over her shoulder. "You're really doing this?" she asked me like I was breaking some code. "Yes." "You're going to regret it," she said. "I regret wasting time." My wife swallowed, chin up like I was the student and she was the principal. "We could fix this if you just." Respect is not a coupon. I cut in. You don't hand it over only at checkout. Kelsey exhaled big. Wow, she said, and went back inside like it was all very exhausting. My wife looked at the box on the porch like it was a verdict. Call me when you're ready to talk logistics, I said. Not feelings. Not blame. Logistics. She didn't answer. I drove off. Over the next 2 weeks, the shape of my life changed. The apartment stayed spare. A bed, a table, a coffee maker. I went to work, came home, and fixed small things. Hung a shower curtain, set up a rack for coats. Nora dropped by one evening with a set of plates and a don't ask expression. We ate takeout, and she shook her head. You looked 10 pounds lighter the day after. I felt like I'd been holding my breath for a year, I said. Turns out air's cheap. She laughed. If you ever need a spreadsheet for anything, you know where I sit. Noted. Word gets around. Mrs. Patel from 2 doors down at the old house called me. She told the neighborhood you abandoned her, she said. Not so much judging as giving me a weather report. I left, I confirmed. I didn't abandon the bills. People will say what they say, she murmured. But we all have eyes. Take care. Thank you. My wife messaged twice asking to meet and talk like grown-ups. I repeated my conditions and sent a list of agenda items. Car title, house timeline, joint storage, mail. Each time, she tried to drag it into he said/she said. Each time, I pressed it back to facts. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't loud. It was adult. One afternoon, Jay invited me to the bike shop after work. You need wheels beyond that old truck, he said, walking me past a row of used bikes. Something that's yours for the long road. I'll get there, I said, and then I ran a hand along a plain black frame. Maybe sooner than I thought. On Saturday, I took the truck upstate for a couple hours on back roads and cleared my head. When I came back, there was a text from a number I didn't recognize. Dana, friend of Mark's. He says you're the guy who can hang a door straight. I need one hung. Payment in cash or dinner. I smiled. I took the job. We ate dinner after and talked like people. No promises. Just conversation. She asked one question I liked. What's the one thing you won't negotiate anymore? Respect, I said. Everything else is a spreadsheet. A month later, my apartment didn't echo anymore. There was a couch I'd built from plans I found online, a rug, a shelf with 5 clean shirts I actually liked. On Sundays, I cooked a big pot of something and it lasted the week. On Mondays, I jogged before work around the small park behind the building, passing the same older guy who saluted me like we were in a club. On Fridays, I grabbed a burger with Jay or met Mark to toss darts. Sometimes Dana joined us, sometimes not. Good either way. I got a call from a mutual friend who'd once loved my wife's parties. She moved into a smaller place, he said. She's asking around about temp work. I didn't want to gossip. Just figured you'd want to know. Hope she finds what she needs, I said. People are saying you were cold. I was calm. He hesitated. It came off strong. At the party. It was supposed to, I said. It ended something that had gone on too long. He was quiet a beat. It looked like justice, he said finally. Not going to lie. I stood at my apartment window after he hung up, watching the light on the trees. The old version of me would have felt a tug, nostalgia, fear, some mix that makes you second guess. The man I am now checks the list. Bills paid on time. Body not clenched. Mind not spinning. No one standing on my neck telling me I'm boring while holding out a hand. A week after that, she texted me one last time. It wasn't an apology and it wasn't a demand. It was an inventory request. I left a sweater in your truck, she wrote. Black. Can you drop it at Kelsey's? It was in the back seat. I folded it, put it in a paper bag, and left it on Kelsey's porch with a note. No hard feelings. Please respect the boundary going forward. She didn't reply. My phone stayed quiet in the best way. The house we'd shared went on the market and off again when a buyer lowballed. I didn't panic. I didn't press. I handled my side. She handled hers. Eventually, it sold for a fair number. We both signed papers at separate times. I took my share and put it into a down payment on a small ranch across town. 2 bedrooms, a garage that smelled like possibilities, a tree out front that throws shade on the driveway in the afternoon. I bought a secondhand toolbox that made me grin like a teenager and a used sedan that starts every time without a prayer. People ask if I miss her. I don't miss being measured against a wish list. I don't miss performances. I don't miss the awkward hush after a joke with my name in it. I miss the idea that a home is a team, but here's the thing. A team is built. It's not demanded. Dana came by last weekend with a bag of groceries, and it don't argue. We painted the spare room a soft color and didn't talk about what it would be. She leaned in the doorway at the end. It looks good, she said. It looks like a room, I replied. She smiled. A real one. We ate on the porch steps. The neighborhood kids rode by on bikes. Two dogs argued about nothing. Somebody across the street power washed a driveway. Life happened at normal volume. No whispers. No stage. Sometimes I think about Mark's living room and the way the air went thin when I said it. People say moments change your life. They do. But the sentence I said wasn't the real change. It was the months before where I started acting like my own advocate. It was the night the emergency card sat on the table and my tote went into the truck. It was the coffee in my garage when I told her no and meant it. She called me useless but kind and laughed like it was safe. I told her the truth she didn't expect to hear. And you're divorced. She lost her audience that night. I found my voice. And I kept it.